So I'm watching CNN. Biden campaign. Trump is a dangerous and unpopular candidate.
Here it comes.
Isn't that funny?
It's starting.
Like, he's doing better than Joe Biden in almost every single poll that I've seen, even the leftist ones. Yet Donald Trump is an unpopular candidate. I don't know where they get that from. Well, they're pulling it out of their, arse. That's obviously what they're doing, but I don't know who they're trying to kid. I want to welcome on into the program, by the way, Matthew Hurtt, our Grassroots political analyst. Matthew, always great to have you on the program. Matthew, I want to play for you and our friends listening this audio bite. This is Jen Psaki, and she was on MSNBC yesterday, and she's getting rightfully maligned for this comment. They're making fun of people who live in Virginia whose main issue that they voted on was illegal immigration. But I want you to listen to this.
If you look at some of these exit polls, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue.
Yeah.
Again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
Build the wall.
Oh, yeah. So Rachel Maddow, by the way, Joy Reid, and Jen Psaki. But I think that shows you, Matthew, how absolutely out of touch, these media elites are, because they're mocking people whose number one issue is immigration.
Dan, Jen Psaki, she lives just down the road from me, and they are completely out of touch. And this is the kind of conversation you expect from MSNBC pundits and hosts. The American people are deeply concerned about the humanitarian crisis at the border, about the national security crisis at the border, about the droves of illegal immigrants from Central and South America and across the world who we just don't know are coming in. They're moving into states. Every state is a border state, and every town is a border town, including towns across Virginia where I live.
One of the questions, I would ask is that you've got illegal immigration, or like immigration. Immigration and the economy are, when they looked at the exit polling, state after state after state, those are the two big issues. Abortion is like way down, maybe 11% or so. And so when you look at the polling, the exit polling from last night, Super Tuesday, these are two issues that Donald Trump wins on and Joe Biden loses on. And so when we see, now that got Nikki Haley about to drop out, we are, full throttle heading towards the general election and November 5th. I just don't know how Biden can recover from all of this. I suppose he can executive order something for the border to try and make it look like he's trying to do something instead of just going to Brownsville. But the bottom line is that Biden is losing on two of the most important issues.
Far-left interest groups are going to try to make this election about Donald Trump's mistakes or Donald Trump's legal issues. They're going to try to make this election about abortion. They're going to try to mobilize women in suburbia on issues that, as you said, Dan, are way down on the list of issues that voters care about. If Republicans can stay focused, if Republican candidates for Senate, for governor, for Congress can stay focused, if President Trump can stay focused on immigration, on safety, on security, and on the economy, moderates, independents, and those who just want to put food on the table for their families are going to break his way come November.
So here's the question now. We've been reporting since the news broke at 5 this morning that Nikki Haley is going to drop out later this morning at 9 o'clock our time, Nashville time. So what do you expect that she's going to say? She's been saying for months now that she's in it to win it and she's going to go all the way. Well, obviously she's not. She also chose not to endorse Donald Trump, and she's breaking that pledge that she took when she participated in the debates. So number one, what do you think she's going to say? And number two, one of the headlines that I saw was Nikki Haley is not going to endorse Donald Trump yet. Do you think there's a possibility that Haley is going to try to sort of work her way into a future Trump administration? Is that even possible?
It's clear Nikki Haley has aspirations beyond this presidential race. I don't expect an endorsement of Donald Trump in her announcement today. She's playing this game where she's going to try to run out the clock through the rest of the primary and into the general election. Now, here's a tremendous opportunity. Let's say we get past a convention in the summer in Milwaukee, and she says, either because she's calculating or otherwise, she says, you know what, the issues to the American people, this election is too important, and I'm going to endorse Donald Trump. That would be a shock to the system. I think it would shake loose some of the Nikki Haley voters who are still concerned about Donald Trump. I think he's got some work to do there, especially where I live in Northern Virginia, where Nikki Haley swept Northern Virginia counties. But I think that's an opportunity, and that might play into the way Donald Trump views his competitors and views other Republicans in this process and in the political space. It's a tremendous opportunity, and one that she is certainly thinking about if she's got future aspirations as a presidential candidate or eventual nominee.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think she does have, I think she probably has future aspirations, but do you think there's anything there within the Republican Party? Because clearly she's burned her bridge with supporters of Donald Trump.
Well, Nikki Haley is only 52 years old, which is pretty young in the space for a presidential candidate, a general election candidate. She's got a long career ahead of her if she chooses. I do think it's going to be quite difficult, particularly if Donald Trump wins in 2024 this year and we move to 2028. You know, who takes on the mantle of the America First support, which exists, which is strong in the Republican Party? It remains to be seen. But from cycle to cycle, from 2012 to 2016 to 2020 to this year, the political memory of most Americans is relatively short, and she could remake herself over the next 4 years, regardless of what she does this cycle. And there may be a lane for her, like a Marco Rubio lane or something to that effect, within the Republican Party.
You know, I think you're right. People do have short memories. And if because I remember Ted Cruz. I remember when Ted Cruz came out and he said back in 2016, vote your conscience. And I lost my ever-loving mind because, I was a supporter of Ted Cruz. And, he really lost me on that one. But Ted Cruz eventually came around, and now he is one of Donald Trump's staunchest supporters. So I see what you're saying. Nikki Haley, she can do the right things and she can say the right things to get back into the good graces, of the Republican Party at large, because, it's clear that right now the Republican Party is the party of Donald Trump. It has been made in his image. It's America first. And I think myself personally, I think that is a great thing. There's a lot of folks that would disagree with that notion, but whatever. For me, I think there's nothing wrong with the strong economy, deregulation, and, tight borders and low crime. Why it is that this seems to be some sort of a radical idea, I don't really understand. The people who purport to be Republican have issues with that kind of a platform. I understand why the Democrats are like that, but not the Republicans. And so now I guess the only thing that's left, Matthew Hurtt, the only thing that's left is who will it be as far as a running mate for Donald Trump? I'm going to ask you that, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of other things policy-wise. But what are you thinking now at this point about a running mate for Donald Trump?
You and I have talked about this a number of times. It could be a Senator Tim Scott. I still believe that it should be someone who moderates, not changes Donald Trump's platform, but moderates his delivery style, somebody who can complement the delivery style. I still think that in 2016 that Mike Pence was a good complement to Donald Trump. He was surgical on the debate stage against Kamala Harris and or against he was surgical on the debate stage. Now we've got Kamala Harris, who I think would not be able to hold a candle to a thoughtful, well-spoken, surgical vice presidential nominee or candidate. And so we have a tremendous opportunity. Kamala Harris can't work her way out of a paper bag when it comes to giving a speech, and she will fall all over herself on the debate stage. and for Donald Trump to go one-to-one, toe-to-toe against Joe Biden and the eventual vice presidential candidate to do the same against Kamala Harris, I think we're in for fireworks when it comes to the debates, should they happen. Now, the outside chance that Joe Biden decides not to do any of the debates, I think, is there. But the American people deserve to see these candidates one-to-one, toe-to-toe against each other, talking about, again, the issues that matter. And on the issues that matter, most Americans side with Republicans.
How in the world would Joe Biden do on a debate stage against Donald Trump? I'm going to play for you a very quick audio bite, Matthew Hurtt. This is Joe Biden yesterday refusing to take questions from the reporters.
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
Now, here's the thing. And I don't know if you've seen the video of this. I tweeted it out at Dan Mandis Show. But he sounds winded, but he also sounds lost. It's kind of a visual, and it's lost on the radio. But he's got that far away look in his eyes. That's number one. And number two, the way that he says this.
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
It's almost like, I can't cross the street because my parents won't let me. I'll get in trouble, kind of a thing. He sounds like he's 5.
He's got handlers, and you and I have spoken about this. There is definitely a memo in the White House that says this guy cannot go into a room unless he's heavily scripted, and at some point we have to cut him off and pull him off the stage. It will be impossible to do that on the debate stage with Donald Trump. And look, I saw Donald Trump speak in Richmond on Saturday. The guy is electrifying. He is energetic. He is on message. Now, his delivery style is a little different, and that will show on stage against Joe Biden, who I just don't think can get through a debate or an onstage presentation without access to handlers, without access to the script. And so we're in for a real situation here where the American people are going to be able to compare these two side by side. And there is no question that Donald Trump will come out of those debates stronger and making the case to the American people. And again, those moderates, those independents, those people that we need to win. We don't need them necessarily in the primary always, but we need them to win in November. I think that Donald Trump can make the case and swing those voters in our direction on those issues. One
of the things that I noticed last night during that speech was that it was a speech that was on message, and I thought that he did sound very presidential. You mentioned that when you saw him in Richmond that his delivery was a bit different. Talk a little bit about that. Is it more tempered? Is it a little bit more structured? What do you mean by that?
Well, so Donald Trump was on message in Richmond. He has this storytelling style which is pretty compelling. To the point where he will tell 3 or 4 or 5 stories concurrently, and then at the end of each story, bring them back and roll them into the next story. It's actually quite impressive to be able to hold 5 different stories in your head on a stage and sharing. As someone who presents across the country all the time, I can tell you it's very difficult to navigate 1 or 2 stories or to ensure you want to get your points across. But to be able to navigate 3 or 4 or 5 stories and have them all make sense and have a point that drives back to an issue that you're running on is very important. And Donald Trump is a masterful character on this stage, making the point, making the case, and telling it in a way that is energizing and electrifying. Not a person left that convention hall on Saturday in Richmond who wasn't excited and enthusiastic about what is going to happen as we move into the convention and move into the general election.
I think that conservatives are incredibly excited, and I don't know if you can answer this, Matthew, in 30 to 45 seconds. There are people out there that are moderates. They may be never Trumpers or probably never Trumpers. Do you think that those people will ever come around?
Yes, I do. I think that many Republicans, and if you take a look at establishment Republicans who just want to be in the party and they vote Republican and they maybe supported Mitt Romney in the past, those individuals want stability in the party, and there's an opportunity to attract those voters. I think it is very important for Donald Trump to make that case, and he's done it from the stage a number of times where he's been magnanimous or he's been encouraging and unifying. I think if he does that, most of those voters come home.
Now, real quick, because you're involved in something here that I really am looking forward to. April 19th and 20th, it is the Learn Right Summit, and you're going to have some incredible guests. Of course, Chairman Mark Green, Riley Gaines, one of my favorites, Congressman Byron Donalds. But it's really not about the speakers, Matthew. It's really about what your goal is, what the stated mission is of this gathering, convention, whatever it is that you want to call it. But basically, it is providing a guide for parents to raise their kids conservative.
Yes, we want moms and dads, those who are interested in the school board issues, school board candidates, elected school board members, to gather and share ideas on what it means to return a classical education to the classroom, free of gender ideology and DEI and social emotional learning. So we're doing that in Nashville. You can go to leadershipinstitute.org/training, and it's April 19th and 20th, and I'll be back for that. I'm so excited to come back and share what we're doing at Leadership Institute and come with a whole host of exciting people, Congressman Byron Donalds, Chairman Mark Green, Riley Gaines, and others, to energize parents, to energize young people, and to save America's education system from the far left.